When does the fantasy start?
So yeah, and now you're on the road again. No, I almost did it as well.
You said it, and I couldn't not.
Well, my brain did it, and I was like, "Someone's going to do that now." So yeah, you're heading back. You're heading towards the edge of the forest. Still, obviously, you've been kind of trying to get through this forest. The going has been easier since you found the orchid, and obviously, other than the fight with the owlbears, which you did, in fairness, completely bring on upon yourselves.
Did we?
Because
All right.
what we learned
Did
from that,
we?
well, what we learned from
Say
that
that was also
was
Nyla
the way that you don't
flaming
deal
stick.
with, is to set them on fire.
I thought I could scare them off.
And you were
I
wrong.
was like, oh, they're. Well, now I
Yeah,
know.
now we all know.
But you ate some owlbear for dinner that evening, and the next day you continue your travelling through the forest. And as you kind of travel that day, you notice that the darkness begins to abate.
Yay.
The days start getting longer again.
Like spring.
My gosh, the darkness is abating.
Thanks, Gary. Thanks, Gary.
Thanks, Gary.
Character
We need
book.
Elias,
your word a day calendar's really coming
Did you
along.
tell Gary the word abating? Because I don't believe he already knew that.
He's stolen my dictionary.
He can't read.
He actually can't. That's a good point.
Oh yeah,
Canonically, he can't read.
I got
it's an audio
Not even,
dictionary.
not even canonically. It's like literally like meta. Like it's like the
I've
rules
been
are
getting
allowed.
trying to get through.
Cool. So yeah, and as I said, the darkness starts to kind of abate a little bit as you get to the end of the next day. And when you wake in the morning, following a completely uneventful watch, you find yourself moving out of the forest by about midday. The land around you kind of leave the forest and it's beautiful sunshine, really clear sky, lovely, like nice day, which is kind of it's different from what you have been experiencing on the road thus far. It's been kind of wet and stormy. There's still a real chill in the air that kind of comes down from the north. But stood where you are on kind of the high ground, where this forest snakes around the base of the mountain, you look out and you can see for quite a way. You can see the road ahead of you. It winds down through the hills, like the kind of small foothills in front of you, and beyond that you see a river that kind of winds out of the forest to your east and comes round and then heads north as well. The land is grassland, really a kind of beautiful, kind of untouched almost, just plains. You can see like herds of like wild horses roaming around on the plains, and in the distance, pretty much as far as you can see a huge, like ornate bridge with big like towers on each side of the river. And in fact, it's not just towers each side of the river; it's a completely covered bridge. The bridge itself is almost like it's got buildings all the way across it. And on the other side of the river, from that, you can see that kind of spreading out from this bridge on the far bank of the river is a big kind of squat town that just spreads out for quite a distance in each direction. And that at least two of you know, Elias and Grandel, is Bridgeton,
Imaginative.
which is the halfway point.
Money, money, money.
You think it's probably, well, I say you think it's probably, Pierre will tell you it is approximately a 2-day ride from the edge of the forest here until you get to the bridge itself. And then once you're there, he actually would like to stop for a few days because he has some business, obviously, as he said. But we'll come to that when we get there.
In 2 days.
So, sorry, say again.
In 2 days, presumably.
Exactly, in 2 days. Was there anything you wanted to kind of do or discuss or chat about on the way to Bridgeton?
Now, what I would like to do, Jack, I don't know if you remember,
Yes.
but I did roll a great success on my wilderness law check to skin the owl bear. What I would
You did.
like to make is, you know how sometimes you see these barbarians and they got like a bear, like a hood with like claws hanging over the front.
Yep.
I'll make that, but an owl bear, basically. So what I would like to do is,
I mean, you may have got a great success, Mark, but that doesn't instantly make you like a tanner.
John,
Well,
this-
yeah,
this-
that allowed you to skin the thing. You might have to find someone else to make it for you.
And maybe I can listen to this. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. What I would like to do is construct a like a rack out of wood that I find in the forest, so that I can stretch the hide basically and begin the tanning process. So I'll have scraped all the crap, and fat, all that sort of stuff off of it as kind of we're travelling. And I would like to basically have a tanning rack set up where it's all kind of stretched out, and then kind of maybe attach it to the back of the wagon as we go. Start the process going.
Okay, yeah. So the great success you got when you skinned it, I think, is it was to make sure that you got it in a really nice, complete, and it was kind of to ensure that it was. That's what I was going to say. Yeah. So that was to make sure that it was kind of
Got it in one.
worked, and you got it all in a really clean manner.
That'd be wilderness law again.
I'm just having a look.
Can I assist him, Jack, with my vast superior intellect?
Grandel will stand to one side and point out all the things he's doing wrong, with no knowledge that is helpful or any experience, but pointing out what he thinks is wrong.
Yeah, I will say it's going to be wilderness law. I'm going to say that you don't need a great success, you just need a success because you've done such a good job in the actual skinning itself. So yeah, and obviously that's kind of takes into consideration the input from the group. So yeah, roll them bones.
To get advantage on this.
Oh, you do anyway? Oh, fuck you. You can do it on your own then.
That's not right.
Right, okay, I got a 16 on
Definitely
one
not.
dice, which is no good, but I did roll a 5 on the other one, which is on the skin of my teeth. A success.
By the skin of its beak.
So yeah, you can quite happily construct something that will do for kind of to begin the kind of tanning
My
process.
plan is when we get to town, he's going to be there for a few days anyway. I don't know how. Mark doesn't know how long it takes to tan a hide. I've got to put that out there.
Neither does Jack.
To the Wikipedia!
But I would like to find a tanner when we get to town. That's my plan. But hopefully this will speed up the process.
It's just 4 to 5 weeks.
Oh, excellent.
It's
Rather.
a little bit longer than 2 days.
I'm patient.
We could just.
But if you've done a
get
good
into a
enough
fight with
job,
someone.
potentially someone can give you something that you can take with the rest of your travel. Maybe if you can find a kind of a tanner to give you something that can to improve on what you've already done.
Some
Maybe
sort
you'll be able to continue the process as you travel.
I don't know.
You get a subscription to
imagining-
Tan As You Go magazine.
I'm just imagining Gary having this giant owlbear stretched across his back of his horse like some huge kite. And I'm happy with that headcanon.
Is there anything else anyone else wanted to do? Did you want to bury Mad Dog, seeing as his body
Yes.
is still in the caravan?
Also that.
We're just out here.
When / where
Under a
would you like
stone
to do that?
cairn.
I look to Elias, the wise.
I mean, yes, that guy.
What do you reckon we should do?
Can make a hat, a brooch,
I mean,
pterodactyl.
I don't really know Gary. I didn't really feel any connection with the guy.
I mean, we barely found out anything about him until yesterday.
Have you looted his corpse? 'Cause that's
That's
normally
the
what I do
important
with the
thing.
dead. I don't know Gary. Whatever you feel comfortable with doing. If you don't want the wild animals of the area to eat him, I'd recommend not burying him on the side of the road.
I don't really know. Maybe I should. Looting maybe is the wrong word, but just check.
Recycling.
It's what he would have wanted.
Upcycling.
I think somebody in town would probably be able to provide him with a service that his wife would be thankful for.
Yeah, we should probably write a letter as well. Or somebody should help Gary write a letter.
I thought we said that Elias was going to send a letter back to Malachi.
Yeah, when we
me
got to
know.
town, I was going to.
To whom it may concern, i.e. Mad Dog's wife. He's dead.
Rip.
Is he actually carrying anything interesting, Jack? I know he's wearing heavy armor.
He has heavy armor. He's wearing plate. He has a long sword, which he wielded two-handed.
Terrible chest.
He
wound.
has excuse me. He has a bag with him that's got basic rations in it, and a few little kind of personal effects. He's got like a little set of dice. There is a dagger, like a
+4
what's
dagger.
the word?
Sure.
Of instant death.
It's like a little just like a basic dagger that you obviously used for like
So it's more of a
eating
nut.
and stuff.
Pocket knife.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, more of a pocket knife, maybe. Yeah. He has a little flask of oil.
Okay. Well,
That's
I'll take
pretty much
the
it.
rations, and I'll take the flask of oil, and I will take his armor off, and I guess just leave that in the caravan. I would like to. Well, we'll when we get to town, I'm probably gonna, if there's any effects, maybe send them back with the letter, and then maybe bury him with his sword. That would be the thought process that I would go for anyway.
Cool. That's fine. Lovely. So you can obviously do that. You can wrap him in some like fabric or something, just so he doesn't start. You're not just carrying.
Oh yeah,
naked
no,
body.
he wouldn't be naked in his armor anyway, would he? Unless he.
No, I
unless
suppose
he's
that's true.
Nasty.
Oh,
he's
Lord.
a nasty
Yeah.
boy.
That's where we
That's where
get
he
the
got his
phrase
nickname
"going
from."
commando."
Lovely. So yeah, you continue on the road. After you've travelled for the first kind of day so at the end of the day after you leave the forest, you find somewhere just off the road. It's like you're still in the foothills at this point, but like quite close to coming out of them. But the land is, you could just say, it's so flat. Once you come off the foothills, it's like really, really flat. And you can see for quite a long way. And you manage to find somewhere quite, defensible to set up camp in the foothills before you kind of leave them, and you settle down and make camp. It's quite different, obviously, as it starts to get dark, because your dark vision is back. Nyla, your vision is true again with the moon out, and just in general, it feels like much calmer in the area. Excuse me. Yeah, and so you kind of settle down for the evening. You wake up. You have an uneventful watch. The first night out of the sightless woods. Sorry, and you make your way further north. After a while, the road comes to follow the river, and you see the road coming up from the north that goes around the outside of the sightless woods, the much longer route. And there's a couple of people on this road. It also kind of heads down and to the east as well, past the windmill. So there's a kind of, relatively. It's not a busy route, but there's a few people coming up from kind of the port town to the east, Port Amblin, and it kind of feels, you're back to normal almost, back to normality. You kind of have this feeling of just the world is not particularly out of sorts. Like, I think something that you've been dealing with for most of the journey now is that, you had that really poignant sense of dread a few weeks ago where you were just like, why am I being targeted by the universe? Like, why me? You've all you led relatively ordinary lives for the most part until a month or so ago, and now for some reason everything keeps happening to you. And this kind of relatively nice stroll almost along the side of the river on a clear day with a kind of nice, brisk wind blowing down from the north. It just kind of makes you feel really fresh, and your sleep has been really, really good since you've left the forest, and it's just generally refreshing. The water in the river is really nice, clear. You can see the fish, and there's the horses kind of roam freely in the plains to the side of the road. And this river, by the time you kind of get to the point where you're going alongside it, it's really wide, impossible to ford it with caravans or something. You could probably get across it on your own, as a person, if you were strong enough. The current's not obviously strong, but obviously when you can see the fish swimming in it, it gives you the impression that it must be, there must be something going on there. And it's quite deep as well. It's a good, big, proper river. The biggest one you've seen, probably, Nyla, for you, the biggest one you've seen since you left the Elven Forest, because even the river that goes towards the Dwarven the Hollow Range, isn't even as big as this one. So it's quite a substantial one. And your journey north comes to a rather abrupt stop when you join a queue of merchant caravans trying to get into Bridgeton.
There's the low aspect of the fantasy.
We are not heroes, we are simply in a queue.
And you kind of come up. The road is blocked. They don't appear to be letting people cross the bridge at the moment. There's kind of you can see the caravans and the wagons kind of have set up camp around this side of the road, which side of the road? This side of the river, sorry. And you can see kind of the new people that kind of get to the front kind of talk to the people on the bridge, the guards, and have a discussion, and they're kind of turned away, and you see arguments brew up and go, and there's just a general bit of it's a bit. There's a lot of angry merchants in this general area.
Can we hear what they're arguing about, Jack?
Oh yeah, you give me perception.
I can do that. That's an 11, so he gets a pass.
So yeah, the one that's talking to them at the moment, you're maybe 90 odd foot away. There's like maybe 2-3 caravans in between you and the front. I think the front one is 3 ahead of you, and they're talking to the guards. And it's only kind of the snatches on the wind you get from the merchant who's raising their voice to kind of try and make themselves more important than they are. And you hear little snatches of the conversation along the lines of, "What do you mean we can't cross the bridge?" And then you kind of the guard says some stuff, and you can't quite make out what he's saying. But then you kind of you see him be cut off, and the man goes, "Do you know who I am? I'm a personal friend of the mayor." And the guard looks exasperated and kind of asks him, quite obviously with his hand gestures, asks him to wait. And by this point, you've kind of all bunched up a bit, and you can hear a little bit clearer what it is that's going on. One of the merchants in the caravan ahead of you actually says to the man that's talking to the guards, what's going on? Why aren't they letting anybody in? He says, "Oh, apparently there's some sort of plague or something. They don't want anybody in to spread it or whatever. No one knows how to cure the bloody thing."
They're practicing social distancing.
Yeah,
I look at Elias and I'm like, isn't this your thing?
I kind of crack my knuckles.
And breaks his hand.
Off.
The captain of the guard. Yes, I say the captain of the guard like you would know this. It's very obvious that this man is the captain of the guard. He is wearing a suit of armor that is very similar to Matthias's from the windmill.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of gleaming helmet. He's wearing the helmet. The sword is strapped to his side. His shield is kind of on his arm, ready. He kind of looks the part. He is obviously trying to use this as a form of intimidation. And it does appear to be working. "Now then, what's the problem? My corporal says that you are causing a ruckus." The merchant kind of says, "Well, yes, I need to get into the city. I have trade to be doing. I have deliveries for the mayor, actually." And the captain looks at him and is, not particularly moved by this. And says, "Well, the mayor is sick, so you won't be seeing him."
Hello?
Hello?
Hello.
What was that?
What happened?
I just heard somebody go, "Kaikus."
Sorry.
What you doing, John?
What happened?
I was so confused.
Cagus is blind in Latin.
Nice.
Sure.
Okay.
Nice.
So that was your computer reading that out, was it?
Maybe.
I was like, did I hear that?
Cagus.
No one else reacted, and I was like, did I just hear that? Like, was that just me?
I was just very
Sorry.
confused by it.
To be fair, it was enough in the background that I wasn't sure if I was like hearing something outside of my headset from downstairs.
Well, that's what I
or the
thought as well.
TV
That's
or
why I was
something.
confused.
I'll just ignore that.
Anyway, what was I saying?
The mayor is sick, so you won't be seeing him.
Oh, if you just set up camp here, like everyone else has done, then once we've got this under control, you can cross the bridge. But as there's no way to cross the bridge without going into the town, I'm afraid you can't come on. The man harumphs greatly at this. There's lots of but he does eventually, allow himself to be led off the road and kind of essentially joins the, it's like a pop-up market, because obviously all the merchants are trying to recoup some of their losses by selling stuff to each other. in the hope that they can kind of make some trade deals even without getting into Bridgeton.
Lean over to Pierre. So Pierre, do we really need to go inside the city?
We need to cross the river, Gary.
I mean, like, said there's like disease and stuff inside. Is there not like another bridge that we can go on?
The only way to get across this river, other than here, would be to go all the way back down to the windmill, across to the port, and then up the eastern side of the country.
All right, fine. What's
It's not ideal.
Have you got any like medical supplies in the back of the wagon?
No, we don't.
Really, my speciality.
Lie.
I mean, that is my speciality, but I don't know whether we'll be able to get in, because let's face it, we don't really look like the medical type.
Elias,
He's got a point there.
what do you think? We should maybe trick our way in. Should we fight our way in?
I think that's possibly the worst thing to do if there's a plague. We don't really want to kind of. No, I don't want to go back to the windmill.
We're not talking about going back to the windmill. We might have to wait here for a wee while, sort of feel out the situation. But I don't think barging into where there's a plague is a good idea.
I mean, I'm pretty good. I never generally get that ill.
I think when it comes to kind of things like this, Gary, I think it's very responsible to do as the government is advising us to do.
The fact of the matter is, lad, you might not get sick, but you might carry it to other people.
Yeah, I
This PSA brought to the America.
I think we should follow the guidelines.
Yeah.
If it was 2 months ago,
December last year.
I'd have been
Yes,
banging
let's
on the
definitely
gate.
sneak in. That sounds like a fun adventure.
Plague, who cares? We can't die, we're PCs.
We're the main characters, damn it.
Yeah.
Do you know whose podcast this is?
We just killed an NPC,
Yeah.
it's fine.
I'm happy to kill another. So the guy, the caravan in front of you, obviously having overheard all that, kind of just doesn't even bother going up to the gate. He kind of goes off to just kind of find somewhere to set up camp. Obviously, you're more than welcome to go up to the gate if you want to talk to them, get more details if you can, or you can just go and kind of set up camp and talk to the merchants. Or, I mean, it's your game. Do what you want.
Thanks, Jack.
Well, then we'll do that.
Yeah, I'd like to go a little bit more about this plague.
Legu. Yeah, we should definitely talk to the.
So yeah, you go up to the guards, and he kind of sighs heavily. Look, I'm sorry, but if you didn't overhear what was just talked about, then, long story short, there's a plague. You can't come in. Go make the camp. We'll let you in at some point, probably.
Tell me more about this plague. Like symptoms, kind of.
How long it's been going on?
Well, it's been going on for maybe a week. It spread very rapidly. The people who have it get kind of like a rash and like blisters. These blisters tend to pop. And it's it's foul. They basically smell like they're rotting.
Can I do an apothecary?
You can.
Let's roll the 9. It's an 8, which is a great success.
It sounds kind of similar to the carrion plague, which basically is named such because it makes people essentially into living carrion. It kind of rots you to death. It's a particularly nasty one and very, very hard to get under control if it spreads. The only way to kind of stem the kind of spread of it is literally to cut the people that have it off and essentially just let them die.
Mm-hmm.
And once they've all died, it can't. When the host dies, it becomes inert. So there was quite famously about probably when you were just before you were born, Elias. In fact, actually, Grandel, you might actually remember this because you were in the city just a bit longer than him. But when you were very young, or kind of when you just arrived at the city, and when Elias, just before you were born, there was a situation where it kind of sprung up in the city, and the Order essentially just rounded everybody up and killed them all, rather than letting them die, and it caused a huge outrage, and it really lost the Order kind of some of their footing within the city, and they've actually never kind of recovered from that, even though it was kind of on some level essentially what was being done anyway. They were just kind of expediting the process.
Sort of being quote-unquote merciful.
Yeah, they were kind of purging rather than kind of letting nature take its course, because they were terrified it was going to get out of control.
So this is yet another thing that has led to this reputation that the Order have for being a bit extreme.
Yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
and the
Like,
fact that they're massive bellend.
Yeah.
But that, like, it didn't have, like, before that instance, the Order were kind of seen by the regular people as, you know, oh, they do a good job of keeping the peace. They protect us from, well, they're not even protectors. They kind of just, well, they are protectors of the people, and they kind of, you know, make sure the magic users can be helpful without endangering us and stuff. And then when they did that, because they'd almost overstepped their bounds, and then that both at the same time let them cement their place within the kind of the hierarchy of the city and had like a say in what went on and kind of the decisions that were being made, but it also got them a bad reputation with the people themselves.
That is how the Order became the Republican Party.
How's it transmitted?
First the pustules.
And that doesn't help.
Buboes.
Pew pew.
Buboes.
Pew pew.
So yeah, that's what you know about that.
So not good.
Is anyone trying to treat it? Are there any known treatments?
We've sent word to the city.
I give
So they'll be back in about.
I give him a big thumbs up.
They said they were. The word is, we had an outrider come back to us. Well, I say an outrider. We had a message come back to us. A carrier bird brought it back to us saying they were going to send a magic user to come and try and help with it, but I don't know what they're going to do.
Here I am.
I look at Elias.
Yeah, I look at Elias.
Who's a magic user and proficient in fixing things? This guy.
He's got 2 thumbs. He knows what's up.
Who's got 2 thumbs and is proficient at apothecarizing?
That was so clumsy, John. I love it.
That very well illustrates your terrible charisma.
I mean, 2 things. I've had a pint of cocktail and I got a charisma of 5.
What kind of cocktail?
I made myself rum, gin,
Nice.
but it's blackberry and blackcurrant gin, lilt,
Obviously.
and Red Bull.
And Red Bull, my god.
Holy shit.
It is
Okay.
delightful.
It does sound bloody good. What do you call it, though? It needs a name.
I call it the...
Bloody awful.
The bloody orifice.
Sorry, that's a bottom joke. Sorry.
Oh, Johnny.
What? I didn't even hear that.
I said the bloody orifice.
Come on, Johnny.
Well,
The one drinking Lilton Red Bull. You weirdo.
it is actually fucking delightful.
I think
It does sound good.
John,
It does sound good.
It sounds
Yeah,
great.
it's actually really good.
Did you figure out what the fuck was wrong with you?
Honestly, it's actually really nice. I am the magic user you were looking for.
This can only go well.
But surely you'd be on the other side
Other
of
side of the
the
river.
city if
Magic?
you're coming from the city.
Yeah, but magic.
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 Yeah.
I was...
I wave my arms
I'm gonna
around
go and-
mystically.
I'm gonna go and get the captain. He just kind of runs back into the building.
Just go with me on this one, guys.
I was gonna say you could have said they sent you a bird and you were closest.
Yeah, I'm closest, but they contacted me with magic.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I
See,
think
the
that
way you
works.
said it made the guard think. I think that you teleported.
No,
Yeah,
no,
that was
Yeah,
what
that's
I
what
got
I
as
thought.
well.
No.
I've got this image. I've got this fantastic image of Gary sort of stood behind the group, not really paying attention to anything because he doesn't know what's going on because he's Gary. And in the middle is Elias, stood sort of looking wistfully off into the middle
Don't
distance.
drag
having
Gary
just
into
said
this.
magic. And then on either side of him is Nyla doing big wavy arms, and Grandel like with his hands sort of together underneath his chin, doing like weird wiggly fingers. Magic.
We're your assistants.
My
Judge.
my
Yeah.
plan though is to literally just get in the city and leave, or not the city.
You don't want to help.
No.
Wow.
What's this? What's going on? Who are you? Why are you telling my corporal that you are the magic user sent from the city?
I have been sent by the Order to assess the situation in Bridgeton, to deem what kind
Where's
of
your monk?
I didn't have a monk at the time, but they contacted me since I was the closest magic user who was a proficient healer, and just sent to assess.
He is genuinely.
Well, in that case, you will know the name of the man that they said they were sending. Because it would be your name.
I absolutely do know that.
My name
We're asking.
is Elias.
Well, that's not who they said they were sending.
Nice.
So, why are you here? Why are you lying?
I'm not lying, but I was the closest magic user. The other magic users are a distance away.
Well, they said they were sending someone from the city.
Yeah, but do you know how far that is?
Yes, I'm fully aware of how far that is.
And don't you think the
The
situation...
point I'm making is, why is it that they didn't tell me that they were sending another magic user? Seeing as that causes problems, because I already have one in the city, and if they're sending, well, in the town, and if they're sending one from the city, and then you're also here, that means I'll have three.
But I will have assessed the situation and reported back before the one from the city even arrives. I mean,
Okay, right, okay, you know what? I'm not going to have this argument with you. Do you have your papers that show you're a magic user at least?
no. Is that a thing?
Not as far as you know.
Oh, then no. I don't know what nonsense you're spouting. Look, if you don't want my help, if you want hundreds of innocent people to die from the carrion plague, then, wait. It's fine.
Who told you that's what that was?
No one. He figured that out himself.
I mean, it doesn't take a genius. First, I'm medically trained, so... And also...
In now. He kind of looks around, like hoping no one overheard the term carrion plague.
As we walk in, I'm gonna be like, Elias, how do we avoid getting this ourselves?
Just don't touch anyone, ever. Just wash your hands.
Wash your hands.
Stay two...
You sound like my mother.
Wash your hands and 2 meters from anyone and everything.
Social distancing. Wash your hands. Don't touch anyone.
Just...
That sounds like great advice, Elias.
Doesn't it?
Just in general. I mean,
Like, in all honesty, you don't want to be catching this, so just...
Okay. I will endeavour not
Looks
to.
like
That's why I asked.
Find a tanner.
I will endeavour not to. Gary, I'm probably not going to find a tanner, am I?
missed
You
that.
hear that?
Oh,
Priorities of Gary.
fantastic.
I I pat Gary on the back and then I go, and I pull my hand back.
Now wash them.
I like wipe them on my trousers.
You kind of are let into this. It's really, the bridge is crazy. It's like it's kind of covered. It's almost like a hall, like a big dwarven hall, kind of like Mines of Moria style. Just the length of this bridge, and it is of dwarven construction. It was built for the humans as a gift to the dwarves, like centuries ago. Kind of an upgrade from the one that they already had. It was like it was a big wooden bridge they used to have, and then the dwarves kind of, when they officially made peace with the humans, maybe like 500 years ago, probably about 400 years ago, just after the Folly, this was built as a kind of peace offering. Yeah, because there was a lot of infighting just after the Folly between the races, because they all kind of blamed each other, understandably. Particularly the dwarves don't really dabble in magic much. They kind of held everyone else accountable. And dwarves, they're stubborn,
sounds about right.
Yeah. So yeah, this was kind of it's a real beautiful thing. There's kind of like shops and buildings. It's like it's almost like the way that I kind of imagine an underground street would be, because obviously there's a roof to it, which is weird.
What you're saying, Jack, is that it's a dwarven mall.
Essentially, that spans this river. It's probably the river's quite a big one. As I've said, it's probably
the Bridgeton Dwarven Shopping Plaza.
Yeah. But it's a big place and stuff.
Vivid.
Yeah.
I'm there.
I
I'm
feel
right
like
there.
Yeah.
So you kind of come in through the main doors, and you are immediately kind of, your eyes take a second to adjust to the torchlight. There's no windows in this at all either. One of the things with dwarven architecture is it doesn't generally need windows, seeing as they're an underground folk. And as such, there's just kind of wall sconces, and there's big braziers burning, and torches everywhere. And it's a really unusual feeling, kind of coming in from a bright sunny day into this kind of... It's almost dim, because obviously torchlight never quite illuminates somewhere completely. And as such, it kind of almost has a bit of a shady feel to it. There's definitely like dark corners everywhere.
They're like,
exactly
I like
like
they're like
IKEA.
people in the
Yeah, I
street
like it.
sort of being ill and stuff. Or...
No. So this bit it's military almost completely. But you kind of come in, and there's like guards, and they're training, and there's a couple of shops are open, and they're kind of obviously just kind of giving out like stuff to guards to take into the town. It's like the people that live, and you know this from having travelled through here, Elias and Gary, Grandel actually. Is that this section, the actual bridge itself, is where kind of like the very, very wealthy merchants and the militia kind of stay and are based. So it's kind of like the rich bit, because it's kind of like a status thing. You know, I live on the bridge, and there's lots of shops with like houses above them. And you are ushered by the guard captain into a building that's just inside the door, to the right. And you're led into essentially like it's almost like his office. It's very similar kind of setup to Matthias's back in the windmill. He's kind of got the big ledger and stuff. It's obviously he's the guy who would sign people into town and stuff when they were here. One of the things that the militia of the world of Talanos, and the human militia, are very good at is kind of keeping tabs on people, particularly because of the need to do that with the law regarding magic users. And he kind of comes in, he takes his helmet off. When he takes his helmet off, you see that he is actually much younger than you expected. He's probably only in his early 30s. He kind of sounds a lot older, and he sort of holds himself to be a lot older. He's got a little mustache goatee job, and he's completely bald. And he kind of slumps down on the chair behind his. He's got quite a nice wingback chair that he kind of slumps down into behind his desk, and he just says, "So, tell me again who you are. Why are you here?
My name is Elias. I've been sent by the Order in the city to assess the situation and to report back to them. ASAP.
Right. Okay, well. Fine. Okay, you're going to go and need to see our magic user, I suppose, or talk to them about what it is that's been going on.
Who is this man?
It's a woman, actually.
Nice. Who is this woman? Sorry. I wasn't actually supposed to say that.
Yeah, I feel offended.
I feel offended too, and I'm a man, so...
So who's
But
the
again,
most
Offended?
offended?
It's the correct amount of charisma for Elias to have, so...
It's like, is it?
Would you like
who's
to do
this
that
man?
again?
It's a
I
woman.
think
I
keep
think you
that
should keep
nice.
But-
I mean, good.
Well,
Keep
Elias
it.
isn't even that way inclined. He has absolutely zero sexual preference whatsoever.
Oh, okay. He's 8.
He is, yes.
Let's get some representation going on up in here, guys. It's great.
I'm a dwarf.
Catelyn.
Hmm?
Catelyn.
Catalin.
Catelyn the Grey is what she calls herself.
It's a bit pretentious, but sure.
This is what I keep saying.
Could be worse, could be cattle in the white.
Also, a bit on the nose, if you ask me. You'll see what I mean.
She got grey hair.
Yes, she does.
What a surprise.
Right? She wears all grey as well.
Ugh.
Hate her
Oh,
already.
classic.
It's a choice.
Where would we find her?
She's in town. You go straight down the main street. The affected persons are being held in the east section of town. It's quite obvious which bits are barricaded. We're primarily not letting in any merchants because, well, you know what merchants are like. They're the type to just go where they want anyway. Yes, if you go into town, go almost completely through town, and there is a manor house that she's using at the moment. We've unfortunately her residence is in the east, so we've relocated her to one of the affected nobles' houses. Their manor is to the north of the town, so if you keep on going, you can't miss it. It's the Hold Throp estate.
Is there a reason you're not calling them infected?
Social stigma.
Uh-huh.
And are we? Have we completely isolated Bridgeton? No one in, no one out.
Other than you guys.
Okay. Like, if I high five someone here, just asking for a friend, like, is that a no? Is that no on high
Yes.
fives?
It's a no on high fives.
No on high five.
It's a hard
And
no.
heart.
No hugs either.
Definitely. Physical
Are you
contact of any
sure
kind.
that this man should be going into this
Look,
place?
I'm the.
He's one of the
No,
nurses.
I'm more of a security officer. For you can never be
And-
too careful.
and nurse, like I said.
The medical profession.
Okay.
We carry a lot of expensive supplies with
Yeah.
us.
Right, well, I've told you where you need to go. Frankly, I'm beyond caring at this point.
Sick to the back teeth of you.
Get out!
Okay.
So, just is to the north, the estate is by the gates. You can't miss it.
Excellent. Cool.
Awesome. I
Go on
leave.
then.
Goodbye.
Is I take it Pierre's with us,
He stayed on the cart.
and the cart's
Oh yeah, he
outside.
he came in with you, but he didn't come into the room with you.
Right, okay.
Okay.
He just kind of
We should
is-
probably.
he's acting as if he's just kind of the cart man carrying this.
Okay.
He's kind of just keeping quiet because
He's
he
not
knows
an
quite a lot of
idiot.
people in this town, and he doesn't want to get recognised as just being a merchant. So he's just kind of
Perfect.
sitting on the cart, kind of with his hood pulled up, just like
The
yeah,
cart
I'm just
which
a guy.
the cart which says on the side of it,
Pierre's
Pierre's
Yeah, his name.
odds and sods.
Yep, that's the
Yeah,
one.
it's weird.
That's the one.
So we leave, and in the secrecy of our own company. How are we playing this, guys? Are we in and out?
I don't.
Well, we have to follow your lead, Elias, because I have no idea what to do in this
But
situation.
do you
Well, I
really
mean,
think you
I-
can
I-
cure disease?
Yeah, I mean, if you can do it.
Not his plan, though, is it? His plan is to get in, get out, and not come back.
That is,
I mean, it would be wise to at least talk to this Catelyn, right?
yeah. Then I kind of get,
Say that we put in the
I
hours.
kind of get
and
a little
then
bit more
maybe-
sucked into it all. Then at that
Well, no,
point.
I mean, you could always just show up and go,
No.
"Oh yeah, no, it is this thing. There's nothing we can do," and just be on our merry way.
Also, I know.
Unless
And then the real
I've
magic.
realised.
Yeah, let them deal with it.
Of all of us, but
It's only
But-
taken you months.
it's just occurred to me that it's actually a lot harder to get out of an infected city than it is to get in.
I don't know,
Yeah.
we got in
And,
pretty easily.
Yeah, it wasn't
Yeah,
actually that hard, eh?
I didn't have to roll a charisma check or anything.
it was
Thank
amazing.
God.
You did, in fairness, roll a very good
Apothecary.
apothecary.
I suppose
You managed to use literally the one thing that would have gotten you in.
To
You hadn't
circumvent
said
your
the
lack
name
of
of it.
charisma.
Like legit, like one of the things I decided was if you start saying what this thing is, he'll just be like, "Get in the fucking building." I cannot have a panic on my hands.
We could.
Let's go speak to the.
The trouble is,
I think you.
yeah, but she might actually, she might see through our ruse.
Well, then she'll kick us out of the city, won't she?
What a carefully constructed master disguise.
Yes.
Aye, she might.
Okay,
You're not
fuck
wrong.
it. I head to Catelyn the Grey's house.
Cool. Yeah, you can get there pretty easily. As he kind of said to you, not that you asked his name. So I'm just going to refer to him as the captain.
Captain.
As the captain said to you, the west side of town, almost up to the main street, is like literally barricaded. It's like something out of Les Mis. It's like tables and chairs and just stuff.
Empty chairs and empty tables.
What,
Yes,
what
exactly.
a reference.
Well,
It's like Les Mis.
Build the barricade. It's a good reference.
I think it'd
great,
probably
love
be
it.
more like Neverwinter.
As it gets
in
dark, you look
Neverwinter
up and you
Nights.
see stars. Carry on.
In their multitudes.
There is a
Scarce to be
castle
counted,
in
frankly. Nah, it's a bit too high fantasy.
Yeah, it's too much. See now, sorry, I just need to take a moment
Deep cuts
to
for the
prepare
musical
myself
theatre
not
crowd.
to make a joke of
You.
when you say, "Hi, who are you?" and she's like, "Who am I?"
I'm John Bolton. Ting ting.
Is there a hotel of ill repute, possibly hosted by
There
a
isn't there.
man and a woman who don't get along very well?
Cool.
Is
So
one
yeah,
of them
you
Sacha
can.
Baron
As I said,
Cohen?
there's
a
literally
master of
barricades, like just stuff piled up in the street to kind of keep the affected in. And it is kind of almost like
Escape from New York.
yeah, it's like kind of
Same
the
That-
Walking
that one,
Dead.
sorry, yeah.
The other side of the barriers, there are just like people shuffling about, like smelling nasty and like looking awful.
Oh, you nasty.
Howdy.
But you know what I mean? It's just they're just kind of going about their day.
It's
but
The
just
Walking Dead
isolated
or
from the rest of people.
Swindon.
So, you can find this house quite easily. A house is a bit of an understatement. It is an estate. Like, there are walls around it. There's like a big metal gate. You go in. There's like garden and then a house. It's like, it's obviously like quite a rich person's house. You kind of go up, and I assume you knock on the door or something.
Yeah.
Sorry, 1 second.
I roll my sleeves over my hands so I don't touch anything.
Oh, I've had my hands in my pocket since we entered.
Gary's just
Well,
rubbing
since-
his face. He's just got his hands all over his face.
And licking everything you can see.
Look at the nose.
He doesn't normally, but he's like, everything here looks so tasty.
Ooh, touch, touch, touch.
What was I saying?
Knock on the
Sorry,
door.
just
We
locking
go up to the
down.
Oh
front
yes, you
door.
knock on the door, and after a few minutes of like persistent knocking, after some knocking, the door is opened by a man in light blue robes.
Oh, shit.
Shit.
Hi everyone, welcome back to Nothing Invented, Nothing Gained. Halfway to the city. That's quite exciting, I think. One of the things I want to point out first is that when I wrote this episode, it was before the COVID pandemic had kind of really blossomed into what it is, what it became. And whilst we did record this during the UK lockdown, we're still in the UK lockdown, it wasn't done as a kind of bit of social commentary or anything. It was essentially just something that I'd written, and we thought we would rather keep it in and kind of stay with my plans rather than cut it out due to the situation that had arisen. So yeah, we're not specifically poking fun, but I think, as one of the guys I think pointed out, the way that the characters acted in this episode probably is different because of the fact that we've all been in a lockdown. So it's relatively interesting, I think, to be honest. So yeah, that's that. Secondly, I hope you're enjoying the episodes. Like, genuinely, all of us here at Nang HQ, really sincerely, we love making the show, and we really love the characters as well. And one of the things that we put up on the social media recently, I said recently, quite a while ago, was a competition to have an NPC named after a former character of yours. We had literally wands of entries, so thanks everybody there. And as promised, we have chosen a winner, and that is Jamie P, who is one of the listeners. So shout out to you, Jamie. We really loved the story you told about your character. I'm not going to tell anybody the name now. They will be making their appearance first next episode. Bridgeton Continued, I think it's probably what it's going to be called, or something like that. So you'll meet them then. So keep an eye out for people you might think might be with that character name, and I will let you know who it is in the outbreak, which is what I've come to refer to these little sections as, next time. Thanks again. I'll leave you to now. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Hashtag Nancast. Happy Pride. Seeing you still in June, and stay safe. Bye.
Double shit. What time of day is it, Jack?
It's probably getting on to early evening.
So I was right about seeing stars.
Good evening. I am here to see Catalin.
Oh, lovely. Yes, come on inside. You can leave the cart out there. It'll be perfectly safe. He kind of looks at you and goes, "Want me to come in or stay here?"
No, I think you're fine. Guard the cart and its contents.
Okay. He kind of nods at you and kind of looks into the back to see, obviously, like Bear curled up sleeping there, and he kind of relaxes a little bit at the sight of him, and it's just like,
Bear makes everyone feel better.
Unless he really, really doesn't.
Yeah.
He one of the things Pierre does is he kind of like puts like a bandana around his, like a scarf around his face, because he's like obviously quite scared of being recognised. And he's got like his hood up. He looks like a highwayman. Like, he just looks ridiculous, but like a tiny highwayman.
Tiny man.
Okay then, come on in. This man kind of opens the door widely and kind of ushers you in. Hello. Yes, not very often we get people visiting. Whereabouts in the town are you from?
We are not from here. We are from
Oh.
various locations.
Oh, well,
Which is a small
interesting.
town to the east.
They let you in. You must be here for some particular reason, then.
Yes.
Okay, I will take you to Catherine. Let me just... Catherine. I always do that. Kathleen. Let me just close this door. Close the door and literally there's like 5 locks on the fucking thing. And he kind of leads you into a conservatory type greenhouse type thing that's on the back. That is just like full of plants, like herbs and stuff. And they look like they've been moved there from like elsewhere. Like this isn't what's normally in here. Normally it's got a nice like sunroom, but it's obviously been turned into kind of a makeshift
Arboretum.
yeah, and like and laboratory. Like there's like a big table with like vials and things, and this woman who has her back to you. Actually, she wears long grey robes. She's got grey hair that's tied up in a bun on the top of her head, and there's kind of like wispy bits kind of flying off everywhere. Her bun is kind of pulled around. It's like got what the hell is the word? Oh my god, it's on my legs. Yeah, it's kind of her hair's like up in a big bun, and there's wispy bits kind of flying off everywhere, and there are like green like stains down the sides of her robes, like on her like on the back, like almost where she's like wiped her hands on her robes, like repeatedly. It kind of like looks like it's like stained the fabric actually kind of a bit green. And the order monk goes, Kathleen, we have guests. This is... Oh, I'm ever so sorry. I haven't actually asked your name, have I? Who are you all?
I am Elias.
I'm
Lovely.
Gary White. Lovely to meet you.
Hello. Oh,
You got
and
a
you.
cure yet, or what's the deal?
Oh, well, straight to the point, aren't you? I'll let that be as a question for Kathleen.
I'll pull down my hood and say, "Oh, I'm Nyla. Nice to meet you."
Pull like when you say pull down your hood, like take it off.
As in,
Reveal
like, so
the
that
ears.
I look elven now,
Oh.
rather than a person in a hood.
He kind of goes, "Oh, goodness me. Well, this is a day for firsts. How exciting. And you are Master Dwarf?"
I am Steve.
Steve!
Steve
Unusual
Dwarfman.
moniker. Well, what a fantastic name.
Isn't it?
Isn't it just? Thank you.
Catelyn, these gentlemen and lady are here to see you. The woman doesn't turn round. She kind of just says, "Oh, well, great. Lovely. That's fantastic to hear that they're here to see me. What purpose are they here to see me for?" Theo. Because if you haven't asked them, why have you let them into this place? I am being careful at the moment with my work. I don't need to be interrupted by every Tom, Dick and Harry and Steve that walks in off the street.
I will look at...
The order monk is just like he looks like visibly abashed. It's just like, "Oh, I'm ever so sorry. You'll have to come back. I mean, she's very..." It's like, "Oh, for heaven's sake, no, don't send them away." She whirls around in a very, like, flamboyant manner, her kind of robes and hair flying everywhere. And she looks at you and says, "Oh, thank God you're the magic user."
She whirls around in a flamboyant manner.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, I like that.
There you go.
I
Steve
will look
Dwarfman
at the...
here all week.
I'll look at the order monk. And I'll say, "It's been a long journey. Maybe some tea?"
He says, "Oh, yes, well,
Love some.
I can do that." And he kind of toddles off quite happily. He
love
looks at
him.
you for most of the time that he walks past you at Nyla. And you hear him say to himself, "Oh, an elf. I wonder whether they drink tea or not. whether they have milk or whether they just want it plain. Kind of just talking to himself about the specifics of elven tea. For basically the entire time you can hear him going down the hallway.
Did I catch that his name is...
and he must be protected.
His name is Theo.
Theo.
Yes, Theo.
Cool. Yeah, he's brilliant. Definitely the best order monk so far.
He's the best. I like him.
Catelyn, yes, we have been sent by the order to assess the situation.
No, you haven't.
Well,
Grandel's just like, his eyes are darting between Catelyn and Elias. Back to Catelyn.
Yeah,
and Elias.
mine do.
Like, what the fuck's going on?
why would you think otherwise?
Because Onik hasn't got a student at the moment.
No, he does not, but I do know him personally.
Oh, do you?
I do, yes.
Good for you.
So what exactly do you know about this plague?
As much as there is to know. It's the carrion plague.
Yes, obviously.
We just need to leave them to die and be fine.
So is that your expert recommendation?
Yes.
So we can be going then?
So why did you ask for assistance from the city then?
I didn't ask for assistance from the city. The mayor felt the need to send us for assistance from the city because he does not believe the only way for him not to be with the plague anymore is to die.
Oh, so the mayor has the plague.
You could
Yes.
probably shorten that to, he doesn't want to die.
But it was the more specific instance of him wanting help, but I'm not going into that.
I mean, I don't blame him, to be honest with you.
Well, no, nobody wants to die. But when the only way for you to stop yourself from being a living plague carrier is to do that, then you'd better hurry up and get on with it.
Do you know how the plague actually started? There must.
Not a clue.
Have you invested any time into this?
No.
Are you like...
Oh, I owe you an apology, Elias. You were right. We could have not bothered coming here.
Are you like tracking who's touched who, or are you making any effort whatsoever to kind of like?
We haven't had any new people having the plague since I have instigated the Eastern Cordon. What I have done is working. It's been 3 days since a new case.
How many people are infected?
About 120-ish.
Well, it seems like you've got everything under control.
Yes, the only thing that I was hoping I'd be able to do was... Actually, do you have any... You say you know Onik. Do you have any experience with herbs and such?
I do, yes.
It was never really my speciality. I wonder whether you could help me concoct something to expedite the process.
Poison.
Probably,
She's talking about poison.
probably. I did spend some time training with Onek specifically, so I'm sure I could probably concoct something.
I'm sorry. Whose are you?
Whose?
Yes.
I trained under Tackett's.
Oh. Well. You definitely should be able to help then.
It was like a weird paraphrase of the caterpillar in Alice in Wonderland. Whose
So,
are you?
Just so I'm clear, when you say expedite, do you
It means speed up.
So what, like speed up their death?
That's the one. That's why I said poison immediately afterwards.
Quicker ways to do it.
Without touching any of them. You look like a man who relies on
Touching
close
people.
quarters.
Aye.
Not unless you've got 120 javelins, Gary.
I've got 4.
I could make that happen. But a bit messy.
I think we should get to work then.
indeed.
I look horrified at Elias.
You can stay here. I'm not using either of the 2 upper floors, so make yourselves comfortable.
Well, is it alright if we bring in our compatriot with the cart and Tiger?
I mean, compatriot with the cart, I was expecting. Tiger, not very many people catch me off guard.
He's very well
But
trained.
that
he's a
did
very
indeed
good-
Tigers
catch me
are
off guard.
surprisingly.
By all means.
I think we were all shocked to hear just how affordable tigers were.
This is the topical episode we've got.
I've got. I
Tiger
did
King
almost call
and,
her
and the virus.
Carol the
Tiger.
Brave.
It's entirely her fault. Then.
That's a little too low fantasy. For
So
my
what you're
taste.
saying
One of
is
the
that
names, isn't it?
what you're saying is that when she says she doesn't know how the plague started, she's lying because it's her fault.
Her husband is one of the people that is.
Spoilers, guys.
If I-
Spoilers.
I haven't even watched the fucking thing. I just know the
man,
meme.
we need to rush this
Yeah,
episode
the meme
out.
is pretty
'cause
pervasive.
It's very April.
It really is. It's like,
Maybe we'll
what's this
just
about?
maybe that'll be the
Tiger
name of this
King,
episode.
Tiger King?
It will be called "The Guys Arrive in Bridgeton, the April 2020 episode."
You'll have to put a disclaimer at the front of the
Very
episode.
much.
Jack. It's like, just so you know, this was
Yeah.
recorded in a very tumultuous
No,
time.
at the very end, it'll be like if you've been affected by things that happened in this podcast,
Welcome
There's-
to the world,
there's-
currently.
Then what, Jack?
then please don't take offence. It's all meant in good
Yeah.
fun.
No, because
We don't
that
mean-
phrase
we don't
normally
mean
leads to a
offence, we're just
phone number
dicks.
you can call.
Call 555-5555.
Yeah, so make yourselves at home. I would very much like to meet a tiger. Theo is
Okay, I
ever
say running to the
ever so
cart.
slightly terrified of everything though, so be careful around Theo, please. He's a darling, but
Okay.
oh good God, is he useless?
I skip off.
Sorry, my dear, what was your name again? She's looking at you, Elias.
Me, Elias.
Elias. Oh, yeah, so come. Let's get to. Actually, it is a bit late. Maybe we should start first thing in the morning. Let's have some
Sure.
dinner. I'll have Theo put some food together. We can have a chat, catch up. Not that we know each other, but you know what I mean. You can tell me all about the things that. Where have you come from? The city.
Originally, the city, yes.
But I mean today.
Well, a day's ride from here.
She gives you a look. She just looks at you expectantly, really. From the north or from the south?
From the south.
Right. Then you can tell me all about what's happening in the south. Over dinner. And she kind of shoos you away to kind of go and find a room and kind of freshen up. Pierre kind of tentatively comes into the house and kind of comes up to you and is like, "Why are we in this particular estate?"
We have come here to help the people of Bridgeton, Pierre.
No. That bit I understand. Why are we here in this particular estate? Do the people that live here... They're not here at the moment.
I mean, who do you think lives here?
I mean, this is the McKinley estate, isn't it?
I honestly no idea.
Is it?
I think it is. Are they not here? Because I might owe some money.
I mean, I think we're fairly safe to say that they're not here. If this is that estate,
Where's Catelyn?
or Theo, he'd probably know.
The less interaction with him, the better. I know you guys.
I like Theo.
I know.
Say, what's wrong with Theo?
He's still an order monk.
He seemed nice.
You know, he was so beguiling, I'd completely forgotten that.
Yeah, he may be a nice guy, but yes. probably a massive bell end.
Well,
Oh
I mean,
my
his
God.
physical
Massive
features
bell
are not his fault, frankly.
Theo steps into the hallway holding a tray of tea. Who's a massive belly?
He steps into the hallway holding his
Nyla
massive
walks
belly.
in with Bear. Nyla walks through the front door with Bear. I was like, come on, Bear, be a good boy.
I don't know
Silverware
what actually do this.
everywhere.
Theo is smiling broadly at Elias asking who the massive bell end is. And then he kind of looks towards the door to see, obviously, the shadow of the person coming in the doorway, and sees Nyla and starts grinning even more broadly, and then sees Bear and just goes, "Oh!" and throws the tea into the air, and like flattens himself completely against the wall.
How far away is Theo from Grendel, Jack?
From Grendel, maybe like 5 foot.
Awesome. I'd like to attempt a minor exploit to run up and catch the tray in a Spider-Man-esque
Nice.
style and
Nice.
catch everything perfectly.
That is going to be difficult, but yeah. Give me a dex save, luck dex save.
Awesome. Alright, you're gonna have to tell me what happens because I just got a natural 20.
So you like see him throw it up in the air,
Aha!
and
I
you,
will
like,
do something heroic here!
and you put your hand out to like perfectly catch the tray,
Yeah.
and and the tray comes like down like just next to your hand,
Yeah.
and like clangs on the floor. And as you watch that go past your hand, like the teapot full of hot water just lands, like lid down in your hand, and like, scalding hot water pulls all down your arm, and you're just like, and like Theo screams more, and just like,
What's the teapot made out of?
it's ceramic, so it smashes.
That's right, yeah, so yeah, I immediately dunk it. Right. Ah! Fucking tea!
And like it's just like yelling from everybody, and just like I imagine this kind of scene of chaos, and then Caitlin kind of comes out of the other end of the hallway, and it's just like, what the bloody hell is going on?
I like the idea as well that anybody watching would have just seen me walk up and perfectly catch the teapot, like that's what I was trying to do.
And then throw it to the ground.
Literally, like football, American football, spike it to the ground.
Yeah. Oh.
I look at Bear and just like...
Bear
shrug.
looks at you and is like, you kind of get the impression he's like, do I have to come in?
It'll be fine. I pat him on the head.
Elias, do you have any like burn ointment or unguents or any of those words?
I just point at the cold tap at the kitchen sink.
You're no help. You know that, right? And I
From the other end of the
strolls over
hall,
to the tap and,
Caitlin goes, "Allo."
hello.
Take that.
No, I have.
Johnny was banned from the podcast.
I was like, anyone who responds to that is instantly not my friend anymore.
I mean, it could
You
be
know what's
worse. You know,
great
she
is,
could
like,
be called Vera instead of Caitlin.
I knew that you would do that.
I couldn't help it. I have no
I know
choice in the matter.
that was the way it had to be.
You're no longer my friend, no longer my fellow DJ.
Oh.
So yeah, you horribly burn yourself.
Thanks.
Theo is still pinned to the wall, just like panting.
I'll just take Bear upstairs, and I'll like lead Bear upstairs and find a bedroom.
Why? Why is there a tiger?
You don't need to worry about the tiger. It's good people. Listen, on a slightly different subject, this house doesn't belong to you, does it? It's like a noble house. Is that right?
What, there's a tiger.
Don't worry about. Like I say, don't worry about the tiger. He's always talking about the tiger.
He's like shaking, And he like fans himself a little bit. And he goes, Sorry.
Don't worry about the
You were
Tug.
saying?
Tiger's fine. He's good people.
Please stop saying the word tiger.
All right.
Why are we not saying
was it?
tiger? Grandel says as he walks back across.
Ooh.
This house is not. It's like a noble house, isn't it?
Oh, yes. This house belongs to the
McKinleys?
Yes, the McKinleys. Yes,
Ah.
you were ready. You knew already.
And where?
Yes,
where
sadly,
are
they died in the plague. They were the first ones to go, actually.
Sadly, he says, with such joy.
They were the first ones to go,
Amongst them, yes.
and we're in the house because
It's a lovely house. We need somewhere to do our work.
I look at Elias.
I just shrug. I mean, it's fair enough. Seems logical.
Yeah. I don't have any pockets, but I cross my arms. And don't just make sure not to touch anything in the house.
Seeing you do this, Thea goes, "Oh, don't worry about that. We've cleaned the whole place."
Okay.
He just pats you on the arm and is just like,
I look at my arm where he's patting, and then look at Elias with a worried look on my face.
"Oh dear." So please feel free to make yourselves at home. The top 2 floors aren't being used by us at all, so make yourselves at home. I think you're staying for dinner, as far as I understood from what I overheard. So I'll start making that. I hope you all like rabbit.
I mean, it's all we've eaten for the last kind of month, but sure.
Certainly the tiger does.
Oh well, if you're not rather fancying rabbit, I might be able to rustle up some duck.
Delicious.
Sounds good to me.
Lovely. Well, that's what I can do.
Thank you. Excellent.
And he kind of bustles off to the kitchen.
I come back downstairs, having settled Bear into a bedroom.
I think we all need to.
Tiger upstairs in a 4-poster bed.
Yeah, I would like
Yeah,
to.
that's what
Yeah,
I'm
he's on
imagining
the
as well.
comfiest bed. He's just like laying on it.
His
He's
own
so
room.
happy.
Yeah.
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 It's attached to mine. If there's an adjoining room.
Yeah.
Nice.
This place has got like 12 bedrooms.
I would
It's
like
a fucking
to see you
big estate.
all upstairs, if you don't mind.
Okay.
As well.
Sure. Let's go sit in Bear's room.
Let's go sit in
okay.
Bear's room.
The party hangout room.
Okay.
I put him in the suite. I hope that's okay. He really loves a hot tub.
He's on the top floor, like penthouse, like
Yeah.
master bedroom of the entire house.
Yeah. Fucking. He's amazing.
Pierre like comes in and he sits down like on the edge of like a little stool. And he's just looks around at everyone and says, "It's very nice to be included, everybody."
Did you hear that the McKinleys are dead?
Yes, thank God for that. I owed them a lot of money.
That's good news, then, I suppose. Are we not?
The bright silver lining of this situation.
Are we not concerned at all? We upstairs now, Jack. I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Concerned about what, Gary? The fact that we might die of this plague?
I mean,
Well, they were the first ones to go.
that doesn't mean that they caught it or had it while they were here.
But where did it come from?
It doesn't
How
mean-
did someone get into the city with the plague and then spread it?
To a nobleman's house. It normally
Yeah.
starts in like the slums.
You know, for a not very bright chap, he's quite on the mark here.
Gary knows plagues.
Gary knows plagues. He's a we'll call him Plague Man, you know, like Rain Man.
He's
He's a
like
virologist.
He is an epidemiologist, Gary.
Yeah.
Epidemiologist
only-
savant.
We've caught on one of the only specialities that Gary has.
Virology. It's very niche.
It's
He
very
is
niche.
I
Theranos'
imagine there's these
foremost
invisible little
and
bugs.
only virologist.
It's that
Yeah.
that one
There's these
stat
little
that none of
bugs
us
that
took.
get
You know,
into you.
bacterial law.
He turned up to
Well-
university, didn't really know what was going on. I kept asking him who's here to see, and he just kept saying, who?
Okay.
So they bundled him
Jesus.
down the
My
hall.
aloe joke was
Right.
better than that.
Yeah, it was actually. Yeah, don't
I
clap
like
him.
Oh,
that one.
Who
You like
I like
that?
that one.
I'm not saying I didn't like it. I'm just saying the
I
aloe
like it.
was better.
It's a
At
good
least,
one.
At least someone's here for me.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's pretty weird, right?
I have to admit, I agree with you, Gary. I don't know.
He's got a point, Elias.
I don't know. I think you're just reading far too much into the situation. It was probably just convenient.
Convenient in what way?
Well, there was, they needed somewhere to conduct some research, and
I mean, I get that. That's fine.
but where do you want them to do it? Where everyone is still ill?
Well,
Elias, I
mind
don't
when
think
they
he's
do
got
it.
so much of an issue with them having the house. It's the fact that a noble family was one of the first to succumb to this plague, is what he's talking
It's
about.
normally the peasants that get these things first.
Aye.
Noblemen that don't really come into contact with that many people, really, on the grand scheme of things, that get these things last.
Unless we can find out who visited them just before they got ill. They might have been hosting a transient, not transient, but like a merchant family or someone.
Traveling
before the
theatre
plague hit.
troupe, perhaps.
Yeah.
But, as I say, they might not have caught it here. They might have got it around and about town, like going to the
I think
shops
it's worth
or
investigating.
I definitely.
We could
it
work
doesn't
out.
sound like these guys are doing that actually don't give any kind of shit whatsoever.
Agreed.
True. I
It
mean,
doesn't sound like they're doing a lot of investigation. It
Certainly
sounds
not.
like they're doing a lot of like, let's just let them die.
I mean, cards on the table. I don't give that much of a shit either, but
But Elias, if you can save 150 people, isn't it worth trying?
no.
oh.
Why? They did nothing wrong. They're just sick.
Yeah, but this is just the way of the world. This is just how nature works. I mean, someone like yourself, Nyla, kind of someone who kind of values nature's way and kind of the whims of, the world.
It doesn't mean we don't treat infection when people get sick.
There is no
Elias.
treatment for the carrion plague.
But you're not even willing to try.
Yeah, but I might die in the process.
That's an excellent point, but I don't think no one's thinking they're going to come up with a magical cure for this disease.
Maybe it was
Maybe
a
we can
deliberate
find-
act.
I mean, maybe, but
And the source.
I do feel our mission to get to the city is far more important than the 100-odd people.
We were going to be staying here for a couple of days anyway. We're not being slowed by trying to have a look at this.
And also,
We might be slowed by catching the plague.
We won't go anywhere near them. We'll just look through, see if we can find records, who got it first, where it may have come from.
I mean,
also,
we can definitely ask a few questions, Elias.
Exactly.
I think
As you were saying, Gary,
what I was going to say is also this is
Oh,
what-
and while we're talking,
and I think it would be a little bit more interesting and entertaining for us to even attempt to look into it.
no,
Oh, there's a plague. All right, then bye. See you.
no, well, yeah, I mean, I get your point, Mark, but we've also got to respect.
We dropped all pretense of Gary there.
Yeah, no, because
You know, Mark.
that is a
no,
slightly
apparently it's not Gary having this opinion. It's
that
Mark.
is a little OOC, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
Also, we are trying to further the story that has been placed kind of in front of us as far as the actual characters go.
You sound
That's
very
true.
tunnel vision.
But also,
Y'all,
This has
Side
y'all,
quests.
y'all do whatever y'all.
No,
want.
yeah, no, I get that, and it's great. It's a great discussion. But
at the same time, this has also been placed in front of us.
What?
what?
Did you say?
Not to like, I'm not trying to metagame. This may or may not make it into the actual released episode or not. But this is something that has been placed in front of us.
It's in the world.
The
We can do with it
information
if we
that
want
we
to.
have gleaned this from has been put in front of us.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean everything is related to the story in which we're telling. You know, there is other shit in the world that's going on that isn't
Side quests.
Yeah. Like a fucking plague that we're in ground zero for.
We don't know if this is in any way related to anything we're thinking about.
I assumed that it wasn't. It's not worth investigating.
I know, Jack. Jack is not beyond just putting something in that has absolutely zero kind of relation to what we were doing originally anyway, because that's what Jack
How
does.
very dare you.
Well, no. I
honestly feel like we should be having this discussion in character rather than
but
I feel like we're half.
Well, the thing is,
you were to begin with.
Yeah.
You very much were to begin
and
with.
then Mark
and
said,
then it became Mark rather than Gary.
Then Mark went, "We're making a podcast," and it stopped being in character.
Okay, to be fair, I didn't hear him say that.
Yeah, and that's why I then.
To be fair, I do
Yeah, and
you do break the fourth
and
wall.
I do break the fourth wall all the time.
and that's why I then addressed Mark, because he was talking about a
Fair enough.
podcast.
Gary turns to camera and shrugs. That's basically what happens.
So, as you're having this discussion about whether or not you should be trying to help, or whether you should, what it is you should be doing, you kind of, you're sat in this really amazing, opulent bedroom. As you said, there's a 4-poster bed that Bear is just sprawled across. It's lavish, this house, and from maybe 2 floors down, you hear a gong, and it is followed by dinner.
I had a feeling.
Because you've been talking for an hour.
Can I just point out, guys, as just something I'd like you all to be very hyper aware of. We are currently pretending to be a group of people who we are not. Some of us more so than others, in fairness.
Well, I'm the only one that gave a fake name.
No, I know, but I'm also pretending to be sent here from the city, which I'm very much not.
Yeah, but Kathleen already saw through that.
Maybe. But it's not her specifically.
She literally said she did.
Yeah, but it's not. It's not her that I'm worried about. Grandel, you are carrying something of tremendous power that the Order would kill to get their hands on.
And I have been for several weeks.
And we are literally
months,
in
years.
a house with an Order monk.
Who seems lovely?
He might be lovely.
He seems very nice.
You could leave it with Bear. He's not going to come near him.
I'll just keep it in my backpack and not open my backpack.
Okay, that's fine. But
you could leave it with Bear. He doesn't like Bear. He's afraid of Bear.
Yeah.
It's not a bad idea.
I literally just said that.
I was reiterating your point.
I literally said it, and he was like, "Oh, I've got it in my backpack. It's fine." And as soon as you said it,
wasn't
Mark,
the
he was
fact.
like, "Oh."
What he reiterated was the fact that Theo doesn't like Bear, which I'd forgotten about.
I literally said
Well,
that.
I didn't hear that bit.
It's just sexism in action, guys. It exists in this world too. Don't be
we're all getting paid more for this job as well.
I am.
Yeah, I only make 70% of what these guys do.
I mean, I am Steve Dwarf Man, so no, I don't know what you expected from me.
Oh, fuck you.
Pierre goes, "Oh, actually, speaking of money, I do actually owe you all 50 gold, don't I? We are at halfway mark now."
Are you sure you want to give me the whole 50 gold?
Yeah, Bex is only getting 38.
And, I mean, that is between you, not each.
Whoa. I'm going to just flick through my notes here. I'm not sure that's what we agreed on.
Yeah, I think it is.
Is it?
Definitely what you agreed on.
Oh,
Yeah,
no.
because I remember the
It was like
conversation
nothing.
when we had it
Yes,
the first time.
10 gold each for all of us and Bear.
Yeah. That's how it works out.
What?
Yeah.
What?
10 gold each, and then Bear gets his 10 gold as well.
10
He's
gold
worked
for
just
each of
as
us.
hard as you
There's
guys.
5 of us.
All of us.
Let's have this discussion after dinner.
The angry silence
the fact that like Gary was the diplomatic one in that situation.
Gary always is.
Brilliant.
He's very diplomatic.
I know, it's the way he said it was wonderful.
I feel like that's only because he wants dinner.
Yeah, he's
Like-
hungry.
Yeah, he is hungry.
He was promised duck.
He was
He's hungry for something other than rations. Let's go get dinner.
Yeah, so you go down for dinner, and the spread is really nice. He's obviously making use of the pantry. He's seems to be quite a talented chef actually. There's kind of like a roast duck, and there's like potatoes, piles of veg. You realise actually we've been upstairs for much longer than we thought we had. Kind of chatting about the situation, and you kind of there's table place set out for all of you, and there's actually even a big there's a big plate on the floor to one side. It's just got like a pile of like almost like meat offcuts. And he's like, Catelyn said that maybe the tiger would like some food. It's down there.
Oh yeah, he would.
What
I
a s-
promise you, he's very, very sweet. And when you're done serving, I'll introduce you properly, and you'll see that he's just a big kitty.
Until you get him in a fight, and then he's an absolute fucking animal, isn't he? Bear, eh? He tussles him. Tussles his hair.
It's like, "Rawr, rawr, rawr."
He's a good
Lovely. Okay. If everyone would have a seat, what did everybody want to drink? I'll go grab drinks, and then we can have some food. Well, you guys start. I'll come and join you when I've done the drink round.
yeah, I guess.
Beer,
Beer?
yes, we have beer, yes.
Lovely. I'll have two.
Okay, yes. Grandel.
I'll take a beer.
Oh, yes, ma'am, a beer. Very well.
What have you got in the way of strong spirits?
We have beer. We have wine. There's quite a wine cellar downstairs. We also have. I think I saw some bourbon, and port, and maybe some whiskey.
Oh, love that.
Yes, I'll have those.
Okay. Well, I'll just bring up a selection, and you can help yourself.
Thank you. That's what I asked for, isn't it?
And he kind of looks to you like, "What would you like, Matthew?"
Port.
Very well. He kind of comes up with he got a big tray with just lots of different shapes and size bottles. And just kind of puts them on the side. He brings you a glass of port, Elias, and then just kind of gestures to it for everybody else. He's just like, "You all want a variety of things, so help yourselves." And he kind of sits down and at the table and begins to eat.
So, Theo, how long have you
Yes.
been a member of the Order?
Oh, well, that's quite a question. Must be nearly 10 years?
Really?
Yes,
mean-
yes.
I mean no offence by this, but we've come across a number of Order monks before, obviously spending time with magic user as we are. You don't seem like them, to put it frankly.
Well, I'm not sure how to take that. How do you mean?
Well, the brief interaction we've had with them, they all seem very sort of, well, quite stuck up and very, I think the word is severe. They're all very, severe. It's a good word. Very stern, very serious. And you don't seem any of that.
Oh, well, in that case, thank you. I
You're
pride
welcome.
myself on my positive outlook on life. He kind of grins at you broadly.
Nyla's just filling her boots. She's starving. Ram, ram, ram.
So, Elias, why is it you don't have a monk with you?
It's a good question, Theo. Well asked. And the answer is as follows.
Might surprise you.
I was sent on an errand by my master from the city.
Oh, you are just a trainee.
Yeah.
Understood.
Yeah.
You're an apprentice.
Yes.
That absolutely explains the whole thing.
Thank you. I'm glad I took the time to think of the answer.
Thank God I didn't start. It's a long story.
It's some elaborate ruse. Oh dear.
What about you, Theo? You got a story? Like, what's the deal? He's a good cook. I can tell that much. Don't like tigers.
I've never come into contact with a tiger before. I was rather surprised. I'm sure, given time to adjust, I will come to put up with it.
Or elves, from the sound of it.
Yes, I learnt to cook when I was in service in the order headquarters, as it were, in the city, and it was one of my duties was cooking, and I took rather a shine to it. And then about 5 years ago, when I was assigned to Catelyn, it was because she had particularly requested somebody who could cook.
I think that's a wise request. To be honest with you, this is delicious dinner.
Hey, it's bloody lovely.
It's amazing what you can do with even the barest of essentials. And staying here as we are at the moment, I have much more than that. Spices like you'd never believe.
So, I mean, changing the subject slightly. I mean, when was it that this plague started?
About a fortnight, 3 weeks ago.
Oh, really?
Yes.
And how long does it normally take for people to die?
Well, it depends really how how strong of constitution the person is.
Well, when did the family that used to live in this house die?
The son was a particularly sickly boy. He died within a few days, actually. The parents were advised against seeing him when he was ill, but they decided to sit with him on his deathbed, and as such caught the disease as well.
So the boy was the very first person to get it then?
He was the first one to die. We're not sure whether he was the first person to get it. We still are unsure of the exact source of the plague. It seems unlikely that one of the most wealthy houses in the town would be the first place to get the plague, so we don't really, I mean, as Caitlin would say, we don't really know or care where it came from as long as it stops spreading.
Do you think if you found out where it came from, then that would help you, end it quicker?
Well, not really, because we haven't had any new cases in a while, so it seems to be fine.
So, the other people that got it after this family, were they, the workers of this family? I'm assuming they had staff.
Oh yes, lots of staff, yes. Oh, the whole household came down with it.
And they were all dead.
I think maybe there's one of them that's holding on. One of the guards, I think. No, it was the footman. He's still in the Eastern Quarter at the moment.
Oh, he's in the house, is he?
No, in the Eastern Quarter of town.
Oh, I see. Oh, the blocked off bit.
Yes.
Right.
Well, last I heard, he was still alive anyway. Goodness knows if he still is now.
Don't suppose you know his name, do you?
Oh, it was something ghastly and generic, like Dudley or something.
Dudley. It's so generic.
I lean over so that only Gary can hear me. I go, I was really afraid he was going to say Steve then.
That's interesting. That's interesting. And this little boy, did he ever leave the house? Was he? You say he was quite sickly.
Yes, he wasn't a particularly healthy child anyway, to be honest. Not that I know much about them in general, just what I've heard on the grapevine, obviously. We didn't have much to do with them. Obviously, we used to live in the Eastern Quarter, Caitlin and I, when we we're based there. Primarily, Caitlin's research requires us to be kind of away from everybody else.
What does she normally research?
Is Caitlin here? Is Caitlin at the meal?
She actually hasn't come to dinner, no.
Theo, what does Caitlin normally research?
Oh, this and that.
Can I do what would it be, perception?
Insight?
I just want to see if that's his usual like friendly manner, or if he is definitely covering something
Is
up.
there like an
There is an
insight
insight.
roll?
Yeah.
There isn't. Yes, there we go. So I'm not trained in that, so
Intelligence
It's
or
just
perception.
flat intelligence or perception, then yeah.
cool. In that case, it'd be perception because my intelligence is for shit.
Do you get a plus? You don't get a plus on
You don't get a plus, but it's an easier check.
Yeah, and
We can't-
sometimes Jack has the option, if I'm not trained, of going. In that case, you just can't tell.
Yeah, or he
Like, with
can't get a
insight,
great
I think
success.
everyone can get an idea, but like if you're not trained in like tracking someone and it's raining, you ain't gonna be able to.
That is a 4, which is a great success.
Yeah, you think that he's not being like he's being evasive, but like it's like it's not an unusual thing for him to say, but it does seem particularly evasive for him, if that makes sense. Like it's not out of character, but it's not the whole answer.
Right. Go on, give us a hint.
That's Pierre. No, I really can't say. Her work is absolutely her baby. I wouldn't want to give any of her secrets away.
I shoot Elias a sort of meaningful glance, as if to say, like, do you have any idea? Have you heard of her? I don't know if he can make that out from. We've spent a fair amount of time together. It's a fairly complicated thing to try and convey without words.
I think that the look is probably that doesn't seem like the whole truth. Like it's that kind of like
Yeah.
there's more to this kind
Yeah.
of thing. It's probably what you can convey, I would say.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's fair.
It's that kind of subtle like really kind of look like
Like calling bullshit sort of look.
Yeah. Oh, shenanigans.
Yeah, I'll just give him a look back, I guess. Just nod slightly.
Like message received.
Yeah.
Okay.
And kind of as you are eating, Catelyn just kind of walks into the room and sits down as if nothing's happened. Starts eating her food. She helps herself to some wine, and she kind of leans back in her chair, like eating like a bit of duck. And she turns to you, Elias, and says, "So, have you decided what your specialty is going to be when you take the tests?"
I am still undecided. There's a few areas I've been trained in that have piqued my interest.
Yes. Very interesting to see what kind of robe you get. She's kind of looking at you with a kind of... She's really, like, examining you. I think it's quite a... what's the word? Not
Yes,
calculating. Like, it's a really, like... she's, like looking, like, into your soul.
Yeah.
Like...
Penetrating.
Yeah, like, really, like, you feel kind of, like, bare, almost. Like, she's really kind of judging you, and... Not judging you, but, like...
Not the tiger.
She's...
Yeah, I was about to say the tiger.
She's like taking she's taking it all in. She's doing like a really good job of sizing you up almost.
Yeah, I'm very intentionally not giving a lot away.
Yeah.
I'm very
Enigmatic to the last.
I feel very reluctant to give anything away in front of the Order Monk, quite frankly.
She kind of I think she probably gets that. You're from the city after all. And she says, back when I did my tests, I thought, oh yes, this would be what I decide to train in. I'll specialise in this. I did the tests. I thought I did fantastically based on what I wanted to do. And then they came and gave me the bloody grey robes. So I thought, well, in for a penny. So I took it as my moniker.
Pardon my ignorance. What does the grey robes mean?
The grey robe means you haven't got a speciality.
Ah.
That you're adequate at best.
Ah.
I don't think that's right.
So what would you class your speciality as?
Well, back when I was younger and I took the tests, I had always wanted to fool around with enchantment, beguilement. Thought it would help me get a nice man, but as I've gotten older, I've realised how ridiculous that was.
I mean, that is a particularly...
You don't need no man.
That's not really what I was getting at, but...
I love our low charisma band of heroes. So wonderful.
I'm 50-50, man. I've got a charisma of 10.
Me too.
I could go either way.
I've got a charisma of 12, but it's technically it's no better.
Yeah.
I'm just saying we could have called this the Foot in Mouth podcast, you know.
Oh my god. Any other questions anyone's got for dinner?
No, I'm going to remain quite silent throughout.
Yeah, I'm going to take Elias's lead on that. As quiet as I can.
So, Grandall, after, once the conversation sort of died down a bit, and there's kind of that awkward silence of people who have never eaten together before eating together. Grandall, who's started to get fairly deep in his cups, who's mixing wine and beer and whiskey and whatever he can get his hands on, basically.
Yeah.
Sort of, I imagine him with like a duck leg in hand, which for a dwarf would even look even bigger.
Yeah.
Just going. So, Catelyn, what are you working on at the moment? You're not. I'm sorry, that's not what I was going to say. So, Catelyn, how goes the progress for the swifting away of the people what are infected? Pardon my technical language there.
She looks at you, and she kind of gives you a bit of a wry look, and just says, "Oh yes, it's going fantastically." I have been thinking about the different ways in which that we could administer it to the populace. Elias, this is one of the main things I was hoping that you'd be able to give me some advice on. I had initially thought that airborne would be the most logical way to spread a poison, but then I realised that actually controlling that much more difficult.
Yeah, I wouldn't advise that. It doesn't seem the safest way to administer a deadly poison to a very limited portion of the population, but yes.
But then I don't really know how else to do it. I mean, there's by water, obviously, but similarly difficult to control. I wouldn't want this thing getting out of hand.
Well, what you do is you just convince the people that the solution you're administering them is a cure.
But then the people that aren't infected will want to take it as well.
Well, obviously, we just make sure that we're divvying up to the people that we know are affected.
Yeah, I suppose that's true.
It's the safest way to ensure that they do actually take the solution.
Yes.
I mean, that's fine as long as they all drop dead at the exact same time. Otherwise, the people who are still alive when the first ones drop are going to have questions.
Well, I was thinking about having it so that it's a bit of a slow burn. Maybe takes like 24 hours or something to actually come into effect. that gives us enough time to administer to everybody before they begin to drop, as you so eloquently put it.
I mean, is there a way to do that that isn't painful? Because, I mean, I don't know a lot about poisons, but what I know is that the slow ones tend to hurt.
Well, that's what I was hoping to avoid, is pain. Because there's one thing I know about the carrion plague, is it's painful.
Yeah, it sounds really, really painful. Do you not think it was really weird how like a noble family got the disease first?
I mean, I don't think it was them first. I think they were one of the first, but you know, that's how things
They were
spread.
They were the first to die, though, weren't they?
But they've already said that the son was
sick
sickly.
child, yes.
So, like, did he like? I mean, I know we're talking about poisons, and honestly, I'm really into it. Loving a conversation about poisons. It's a great conversation. It's just bugging on my mind, you know, like sickly noble child. Can't imagine he got out that much. How did he get it?
Well, obviously one of the servants. Maybe a nursemaid or something.
Fair enough.
That was my assumption anyway. And obviously, as we've said, as I said to you earlier, it doesn't really matter too much how it got into the town, as long as we can stop more people getting it, which, as far as we can tell, we have done. It's not a problem.
Except for the people that you're going to poison and kill.
Well, they're already going to die anyway.
Well, it's not untrue.
No, it's not. It's true. They are going to die. I'm merely stopping them from suffering.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
If I told you you could either die a slow, painful death over the course of potentially several weeks, or die tomorrow, what would you, in a hopefully painless manner, what would you rather?
To be honest with you, the way I live, there's every chance I could die tomorrow anyway. I almost got killed by an owl bear like 2 days ago. It was this close.
And to be fair, our friend did die.
Oh.
Did I just remind you of Mad Dog? You'd forgotten.
Oh, Mad Dog.
I'm sorry.
His corpse is still in the bag.
His corpse, I can smell him now.
It isn't fresh.
Oh, excellent. That's actually a really good point. Is there any way we could bury my mate?
Well, we have got a mass grave in the eastern side.
Oh.
If you fling him over the barricade, I'm sure they'll be able to do it for you.
I suppose
Fling him over the barricade.
Dignified. He did die valiantly in battle.
Oh, well, maybe go talk to the captain.
Maybe I'll talk to the captain then. Alright.
Anyway, it's getting late. I think that I should be going to bed. Elias, I will see you bright and early in the morning for discussions regarding the solution. The rest of you, please feel free to use the house to your fullest extent. Even feel free to explore town if you would like. Just stay this side of the barricade, obviously.
No problems. Well, thank you very much for your hospitality. I turned to the Order Monk. Meal was awesome. It's brilliant. Lovely.
He is a fantastic chef, isn't he? I asked that specifically.
Aye, top notch.
Top notch, like you say. And
She kind of she ruffles his hair as she walks past in a kind of. It's actually a really it's like really like sarcastic, like who's a good boy kind of like you would Bear almost, like but like almost worse than the way you would treat Bear. And he kind of looks at her like not particularly overjoyed with that.
Does this look
but
like their
smiles.
normal kind of interaction? This isn't a front they're putting on for us, is it?
Give me insight on that one.
I'm gonna do that as well because that was weird.
That's 8. I am proficient. Great success.
And I got 12, which is just a success.
I think that Grandel, this just seems like they're being weird. Like he's a weirdo. She's obviously odd. It's probably not unlikely that it's normal. But Elias, you think that's weird. Like he does not look happy.
So this isn't their normal
at all.
behavior.
You don't think that that's the way that she would normally talk to him.
Okay.
Let's say from Grandel's point of view, that just seems like an odd way for a magic user to interact with their personal order monk.
Yeah, it just seems like odd in general. Like even based on what it's just like, oh, they've got a strange relationship. But you have met order monks and wizards that also have strange relationships compared to what you would expect. So it's not necessarily super unusual compared to what you've seen.
Just made me think of Spaced. What's the deal with you and Marsha? How do you know about the deal? So, sitting in awkward silence after she's walked out. What's Theo doing?
Theo starts to clear the table.
Yeah, I'll thank him very much and then head upstairs.
Grandel picks up 3 of the 5 bottles that were laid out in front of him and goes upstairs.
Grandel's done for the night.
Yeah. Well, he will be.
I'm gonna take Bear on a bit of a walk before bed.
Around the gardens.
Yeah, just like get like a feel of the place and see if I can hear anything weird or see anything weird while I'm wandering around for a bit.
Cool. You actually do.
Oh.
When you're wandering around the gardens, you kind of like wander through the kind of in through to the back and around the gardens. It's really nice. Like it's inside the town, but it's got like a relatively large garden. That's kind of like a what's the word? It's got like the big tall hedges that kind of separate it up into sections. Like the box hedges, like topiary type ones. And like little it's like walled as well, so it's like you're completely enclosed from the rest of the town. And as you're coming back, you can see that there's light, like the conservatory sunroom does have like light on, and there's like movement. You can see the shadow moving in like inside the room, as if somebody's like in there doing something.
I will try and get a bit closer and see what's going on.
Cool. Are you trying to be sneaky?
Yes, very.
Cool. Give me stealth then.
Roll that stealth.
For you and
stealth.
Bear.
Bear gets advantage. I pass. Bear gets a great success, because of course he does.
He is a dagger.
Dagger.
So you sneak up to the kind of the window, and you peer in, and through the window you see someone you don't recognise, you've not met. They're wearing a guard uniform, and they are talking to Theo.
Okay.
And
do they look happy about it? As they look, what, are they being threatened? Like, what's the mood?
Theo looks exactly like he always does, like the way you've seen him so far, and the guard has got his back to you. But Theo is kind of like talking and like waving his hands around like he does, and like kind of like is like laughing a bit. This is like maybe half an hour after, because I imagine you've been walking Bear for a while. This isn't like you go outside and then he's in there. This is like after everyone's gone upstairs and you've been walking around outside for a bit, just for clarity, by the way. Because I assumed that time had passed.
Yeah, I would have taken Bear on a long walk.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So this is kind of as you're coming back. So it's like completely dark now. It's night. It's probably about 10ish. Maybe even later than that. And you can kind of see this discussion going on. Give me perception.
That is a great success. Or a 7.
Ooh, cool. You can hear Theo says, No. You don't understand. we want to keep them here. They're perfectly safe in the house. There's no need to put them up somewhere else on the bridge or anything. They're perfectly fine where they are. The guard kind of says, well, the captain said to bring them back with me so that they can, stay in the safe part of town rather than out with everybody else. And Theo says, no, there's no need. They're helping us in our work. Honestly, just tell the captain there's absolutely no trouble. The guard kind of shrugs and walks back towards the kind of the main door, and kind of as soon as he turns his back, you just see the smile just drop from Theo's face, and he just looks exasperated, he's just oh, for heaven's sake, and kind of psychs himself up a little bit and puts a smile back on, and then kind of leads the guard out, and you can kind of hear him at the front of the house being yes, goodbye, see you later.
Theo's definitely being played by Michael Sheen.
I love Michael Sheen.
Yeah, it's that, the smile falls away, he gathers himself, puts the smile back on. Michael Sheen.
And that's kind of what you see, Nyla.
I want to stay watching Theo and see what he does next.
So he kind of comes back into the sunroom, and he kind of starts, I think pottering about is probably the best term for it. He kind of is ordering notes and stuff, reading things. He pulls out a journal from one of his sleeves and makes some notes, copies some stuff down from the notes on the table, and then kind of puts them away. And then he takes a couple of vials from the experiment that's being done on the table, and you actually see him switch two of the labels, the tags around them, and puts it back, turns the light off, turns the candles out, and goes back into the house. And he looks like he goes up to his room.
After I'm sure that it's safe, I'm gonna sneak up to where Elias is staying.
Cool.
And I will just walk in. Fuck it. I walk into Elias's room. I'll put Bear away first, and then I'll go into Elias, because that's weird. I'll go into Elias's room and I'll shut the door behind me. Elias, are you awake?
I am now.
Hi.
Hi, Nyla.
I squirrel. That's not the right word. That's to put something away. I move over to the bed where I assume Elias is. This could go very wrong. And I go.
You've got low light vision. Remember, you can probably see where he is.
Yeah, no, I can, but I don't know where he is. He could be in a chair.
I do sleep in a bed.
He hasn't told me where he is. He did go to bed. Okay, it's fine. So I wander over to the bed and I say, something very weird's going on with Theo.
Such as?
Well, one of the guards came and was trying to get us to go stay somewhere safer, and Theo assured him it was fine, but as he walked away, Theo's face changed. He didn't look as chipper as he normally does, and then I watched him switch some labels in the Catalan's room, her potion room. I don't know what any of this stuff is.
What did the bottles look like?
Do I know what the bottles look like, Jack?
They were beakers, like test tubey kind of beakers.
Conical flasks?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know what that is in this world. They look like her experiment glassware. Stuff she was working on. I mean, I'm guessing he's not supposed to do that.
No, that's definitely not something he's supposed to be doing.
I mean, my plan was to sneak down and have a look around her office anyway, so do you want to go? Nyla and Elias on an adventure, looking at portals. What's that over there?
That's the theme tune. Yes. I would like that. I do think Catalin's acting a bit strange as well.
Yeah, this whole thing is weird. Should I get the others, or...?
I mean, you could do. The more of us sneaking about, the more likely we are to get caught.
Let's do it, Elias. Let's go. Let's do an adventure by ourselves. Just you and me.
Awesome.
And thus we got our spin-off.
The Elias and Nyla show.
Nyla and Elias sneaking round a mansion, doing weird stuff.
Cool. If you're both sneaking, then give me some sneak rolls.
Let me sneak that roll. Look, it's a 1. I'm the best.
Well, it's not quite a 1, but it is a success. It was a 14.
They sneak and spell and sneak and spell and sneak.
Sneak and spell.
Sneak and spell, spell and sneak. The Elias and Nyla show.
Oh my god.
God was that hype man.
So you managed to sneak down to Catelyn's study, sunroom, laboratory, if you will, and
we will.
All the words.
And within, you have unfettered access to her shit.
Nice.
Show me what you saw him messing with, Nyla.
Point
Show
out
me what you saw him messing with.
I point out the files I saw him switch.
I'd like to go and have a look.
Cool, give me a apothecary.
It's a 4, which is a great success.
We're so good at this. We should go on our own adventures.
Said Nyla loudly.
No.
We're great at this.
We're so great at this.
We're so sneaky.
So yeah, the vials look like they are, kind of part of an ongoing experiment, and based on them being switched, the results of the experiment are going to be completely void. The hypothesis will probably, you think, be the opposite.
Is there any?
And
is there any notes?
Oh, there's notes. There's notes for days. She is a messy worker. There are literally scraps of paper with half-written equations and notes and just words and question marks.
It's no wonder she got a grey cloak. Quite frankly.
Ooh, sick burn. Need some aloe for that.
Bringing it back.
Oh yeah.
But it looks like she was trying to figure out. This work all looks like it's to do with explosives.
Okay.
There is literally nothing for poisons here, at all. This is all explosives, as far as you can tell. And the vials that have been switched, essentially, it's to do with the reactions and how violent they will be, and the switched reactions will lead to basically inert reactions, whereas if the other way around actually will be quite a violent explosion.
Okay.
So he's trying to kill her, blow her up.
So the way that he's left
and
it
make it look like an accident.
Won't be the way he's left it means there won't be an explosion.
Oh, I see.
Oh,
Okay.
I see. I thought he was trying to blow her up.
Yeah, that's what I thought you were saying as well.
So what do you think he's trying to do?
I'm not entirely sure.
I mean, is she planning on throwing this into the affected area, and he's trying to stop her.
Well, it seems weird that she's asked for my help, if that's the case.
Obviously, she only asked for your help after she knew you were Takis' student.
No, I know, but it still means I'm going to be involved and could figure out what she's doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was just saying.
Yeah, it just seems a bit backwards that he's scuppering the plans in a way that would stop the explosions.
What, Jack, so you continued to work before dinner, so after we arrived, what's the last thing she wrote in her, journal? Has she written anything about...
She doesn't have a journal, it's literally scraps of paper. Is a mess.
What looks like the closest thing to her that she was writing? Did she meant anything that says Elias on it, or anything about, changing tact, or...
No, it's pretty much all just formulas, and, there's not really any, journal-y stuff. It's more just, words with question marks, and, formulas, and, there's bits of paper that have been, folded together. Where you would, kind of stick stuff together to kind of say these are relevant to each other. They've kind of, there's a couple of, scraps of paper that have been folded together by the corner, so they stay together.
Just gonna say, that's terrible lab book practice.
Yep.
Unbelievably bad.
She's a grey robe.
Makes me sad. Yeah. I mean, do we tell her? Or do we just work out what she was trying to do and then work out then what he was trying to do?
I'm just not entirely sure I trust her.
I mean, I don't trust either of them at this point.
We should have just left.
So they're obviously working against each other.
Just turned a blind eye. I think possibly the best course of action is for me to just spend the day with her tomorrow.
Sexy.
You're not really going to try and poison all those people, are you?
No.
Well, I'm convinced. How about you?
Yeah, look, phew, says Nyla and goes back to bed. What?
Those people have the carrion plague. They are going to die. Horribly.
You're not even going to try and help
There is
them.
no cure. There is no cure for this, Nyla. I mean, I don't have the know-how or the equipment to even to start working on a cure. This affected the city some 30-odd years ago and killed a lot of people, and they had some brilliant minds working on it then, and that there is no cure.
Okay.
I mean,
well, I have to trust you because I don't know.
I'm not a cold-blooded murderer by my very nature.
Technically.
But I will kill people to save them a horrible, horrible death. I mean, obviously you've not experienced the carrion plague. It is horrendous.
Okay, I trust you.
I don't want them being blown up, quite frankly, but
yeah, be careful if he's been switching label. We don't have no idea if this is the first time he's done this. He could have been switching stuff for weeks. Nothing could be as it seems.
Nice.
Sorry.
I loved it.
Thank you.
So, yeah, I think you probably end up going to bed. I think you've kind of reached the end of your investigation.
The zenith, yeah.
Well, if the notes aren't in any order, there's not really a huge amount we can do.
No,
So
it's horrendous. You don't even know how she keeps tabs.